Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is David Okun. I'm talking about work in the United Kingdom, and I'm also talking about pay. When you work, you get paid. Watch this video and the rest of the video I have recorded on this topic on employment. Thank you so much, everybody who have been helping me to support the YouTube channel, watching every day, leaving a nice and sweet comment. Just been really wonderful sharing my thoughts with every one of you who have had the opportunity to watch my video and clicking notification bell, clicking like, subscribing to my YouTube channel. If you haven't done so, continue supporting this material. I'm talking in the UK about work. If I talk about work in the UK, like I said before, you are watching this video, watch the rest of the videos, they are connected. What happened in the United Kingdom also happening across the globe because of globalization as a political system, which is now in its final stages. That means what happens in the developed world and the developing world are similar, if not the same, because of something called harmonization and states cooperating with states. Globalization involve losing sovereignty. If you know the concept of sovereignty, leave a comment below. Let me know your thought. It is when you lose power. Sovereignty means power. Power which is in theory unlimited. A country like the United Kingdom where I live is a sovereign state, constitutionally or by convention or other instrumentation. They produce sovereignty. In our case in Britain, Parliament is sovereign, is a source of sovereignty. In the UK, in other countries, the constitution is sovereign. Here, Parliament is sovereign, and making Britain a sovereign state, which is something we enjoy, has to do with nationalism, which has now gone away because of globalization. Globalization is the opposite of nationalization, if you like. That's why now the idea of nationalization is dying out. We talk now about something called marketization, which is part of the global capitalism, which involves selling of the countries, including selling of the government and the state, and sovereignty to go with it. That is developmental and also perhaps cultural. Stay tuned, continue watching, leave a comment below. Thank you so much. So we talk about work in the United Kingdom. We compare with the rest of the world. I have said it pays to pay attention in one country what happened there. I have spoken about globalization, the global system, which is now coming to its final stages, and there is no going back on that, and it relates directly to the system of marketization, which is global, which is selling of the state. It is actually the opposite of sovereignty, which is at the center of a nationhood, of countries as an entity, nation states, and this is being exchanged by global estates. So if you see an incident, if you see public sectors being closed down in one country, you need to know it is being closed down in another country as well. So we are looking at work in its specificity. In the United Kingdom, and I've also been repeating this point. Everything happening here happen in another country similarly or exactly the same. So paying attention to what happened in the UK is extremely important, and especially if you are in a developed country. I keep on repeating this point because it's central to this program, and as this program has been a work in progress, so we are looking at work, we are looking at pay, because you get paid, and people start work, they also leave work, and when they start work, continuing to work, they get paid, when they're leaving work, they get paid something called final payments for leaving work. And also there are sources of income. Remember, when I began to talk about employment, I was talking about the cost of living crisis, which is directly or indirectly, but more directly related to income crisis, which is the problem of low pay and also of other sources of income like benefit. Benefit is a type of money. It's not a loan. It could be a loan also, but mostly grants, if you want to look at it that way. But it's not even a grant, but it's known as benefit. It's money given by the UK government. It's similar. It's part of the welfare economic system, welfare state, which is part of the public sector. When the public sector closes in a country, benefit system also closes. That is what is happening in the United Kingdom now, with sickness benefit, with employment benefit, and all sort of money. When people talk about benefit, they are talking about money, but it could be also in kind. Could be cash, could be money in kind, payment in kind. We have discussed this. Watching this video, to watch with the rest of the video for you to make sense, leave a comment below. If you think this material makes sense, if you think it doesn't, that is okay, because this is material is complex. I will try to humanize as much as possible the logic and also if any coherence associated with this functioning. So let us look at things like job seekers allowance. Job seekers allowance is a type of benefit. It's a legacy benefit, which means there is a new benefit. Legacy means something of the past, an old type of functioning benefit known as job seekers allowance. This is also called income support and tax credit or something else. Now, these are legacy benefits being replaced particularly by something called universal credit. I've made programs on financial support provided by the UK government to the British people. And British people, including people who live here who are foreigners, but mainly people allowed to live in the UK, and mainly benefit because of changes in policy, now deal with those allowed to claim benefit. Especially if you are a foreigner, there are conditions where you might or might not be able to get mainstream benefit. Normally you don't get it. Exceptionally, you might get it in one way or the other if you are in a situation in the United Kingdom where you are an immigrant, or you came from abroad, or you are British, you have stayed for a long time without staying in the UK. Your benefit system or your benefit accessing may be problematic. So we are looking at income support. This is a specific item within money given. We are looking at the relationship between money when you are paid from your employment, because these benefits are means tested. I have talked about this before. So this is what we are going to be looking at, and they're important in terms of income. Every little helps. The problem, like I said, has to do with the level of pay in the UK, and it impacts mainly by it impacts the cost of living crisis conditions. Leave a comment below. Thank you so much. Continue watching. So we are looking at material applying for advice in to England and also Northern Ireland and Scotland and Wales. So different regions of the United Kingdom in relation to policy and laws applies in one applying in one way or the other. So we're looking at warning about self-employment clients, self-employed clients. So if you're self-employed, we have looked at employment statuses. Self-employment is a type of employment status. When you are actually an advisor, especially if you are an advisor, there are telltale signs, there are things you look for, warnings about self-employment clients, warnings about full-time work, which payments might a client receive on leaving work. These are different elements. We are looking at our payments on leaving work, treated for income-related employment. The support allowance. Employment support allowance is a type of sickness benefit, is a legacy benefit, is being replaced by something called the sickness element of universal credit. We discussed this before. So our payments or living work are treated for income support and job seekers allowance. Our claimants, our partners, final payments are treated. People whose work has been interrupted, people who have retired, last wages, salary, money in earn, pay in lieu of notice. These are elements in employment law in the United Kingdom. They are quite specific. Leave a comment below if you have interest. Redundancy payments, payment treated as compensation payment for income support, payment treated as compensation payment for job seekers allowance. So these are the outlook, these are the preview. If you like ex gratia or ex gratia or golden handshake payments, leave a comment below if you know ex gratia or golden handshake payments, bonuses or commission expenses, legal costs, occupational pension, which is a pension relating to when you are working for an employer, and when you pay, if taken, the contribution is taken from your salary other than from your national insurance contribution, as relating to whether or not you are paid state pension in the United Kingdom. These are all systems of payment in terms of work, employment included under work. So compensation for unfair dismissal, we have looked at these elements, payment in lieu of remuneration. When you work for a living, you are paid salary. Salary is a type of remuneration. And the lump sums and how they are taxed when there's the period over which the Department of Work and Pension takes and final payments into accounts beginning when there's the period over which the Department of Work and Pension takes into account compensation payment from part-time work, where and when it ends, and when there's a period of which the Department of Work and Pension takes into account certain earnings from part-time work other than compensation payments, and ending what happens if the claimant gets different types of earnings of overlapping periods. We are looking at the timeline in terms of information. These are specific information. Leave a comment below that we know what you're thinking. So we look at in turn about warnings about self-employment. Self-employed clients mean people who need advice. We discussed this in the other videos. If you watch this video, watch the rest of the video as well. And so we information on this document about information in this document about the effect of final payments on living work, on income support, payments on living work, on income support, income-based job seekers allowance, JSA, and contribution-based job seekers allowance does not apply to self-employed clients. So therefore, if you're self-employed, this information doesn't apply to you. Like I said, they are quite specific, and leave a comment below if you would be in a situation to need this kind of help. Gov.uk is a place to go, and all the rest of the other websites I've been referring to on the other videos. So for this benefit, any earnings from a claimant self-employed work, other than royalties or sums paid periodically from copyright disregarded from the date of their work ending. Stay tuned, continue watching. Thank you so much. So you can look more to find out about what counts as self-employed earnings for income support and job seekers allowance purposes. We're looking at the relationship between pay and benefit, in short. So you can look at resources, welfare benefits and tax credit handbook. Let's look at certain warnings about full-time work, which are indicators of situations which may pertain in terms of these issues. If a claimant is still in full-time work, also known as remunerative work. They cannot normally get income support or job seekers allowance. These documents does not cover benefit entitlement for people who are in full-time work. If you work for a living full-time, this document does not cover benefit entitlement for people who work full-time. Like I said in the other materials, you may be working full-time and still get benefit. Which payments might a client receive on leaving work? We talk about leaving work specifically. When a person leaves a job, they will usually be given a final all-in payment. This is sometimes known as a severance payment, a severance payment, or termination payment. Although it will usually be just one sum of money, it may represent payments for different things. Entitlement to benefits and whether it is taxable will depend on what is included in the payment. Stay tuned, continue watching. So the final payment could include last wages, salary, money in hand, pay in lieu instead of notice. There is pay in lieu of notice, but also pay in lieu, holiday pay, redundancy pay. We have discussed this elsewhere in the series of the video. Ex gratia or golden handshake payment, bonus, commission expenses, occupational pension. So the client will also receive compensation payment for wrongful or unfair dismissal. These are categories of payment we have discussed already, but these relate to how they affect benefit, state benefit. We also discussed state benefit, so understanding these concepts to put them together will actually mitigate on the complexity of the information. So check the payment, that the payment is correct. These are practices which are common. Checking payments in terms of contractual relationship, in terms of employment, for example, in this case employment. You will need to check what the employee should have received at the end of their employment and compare this to the payment they have received to ensure they have received the right amount. So you may need to identify the following elements of the final payments: last wages, salary, money in hand, money pay in lieu of notice. More about pay in lieu of notice, visiting different websites such as gov.uk or public website of citizen advice or ACAS. Like I have mentioned this many times, this video is a continuation of the videos previously produced. Thank you so much for your support. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed. Click like, click notification bell, leave a nice comment. If it is nasty, then be nice about it still. And let us have a conversation. Watch this video, share with family and friends. Thank you so much. So we also look at holiday pay. And we want to find more about our holiday pay. We visit this website, redundancy pay. You can also look at redundancy payments in fair details online if we are interested, as Russia or golden handshakes payment, bonus, commissions, expenses. You will need to check the employee's contract to see if they are entitled to some of these or other bonuses. So occupational pension, you can also study more online. So you can also look for the payments a client's employer may be responsible for when the client leaves work. More also online. If you want to consider what to do about money owing on leaving work. So once you are identified how the final payment is made up of their structuring, in other words, they can use this document to check how each component is treated for tax and benefit purposes. You also look at how our payments on leaving work are treated for income-related employment support allowance. The key word in this element is income-related employment and support allowance. These are benefit types relating to pay when you're leaving work. They are very specific. Stay tuned, continue watching. Leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts about this information. So this document does not cover the way payments on the leaving work are treated for income-related employment and support allowance. However, there is some information about this online welfare rights and tax credit handbook. So also more online final payment on leaving work and income-related employment and support allowance, welfare rights and tax credit handbook. Our payments on leaving work are treated for income support and job seekers allowance. This income support are benefit. Job seekers allowance are also benefit. They are legacy. Now in the UK, being replaced by something called universal credit. In their different elements, they're complex, but there is worthwhile because it is critical in terms of benefit accessing, income accessing, and also income maximization. People need to be aware that in its primacy, any type of income, if you are eligible, if you are entitled to, it is really important to get it. Doesn't matter how small they are, because they could be passport to other support if you're on benefit, and also some benefit are paid by employer, our energy company, water company, or other providers of public service. Perhaps more and more, there could be other organizations providing things like food bank. I heard recently on the news something known as child bank. Leave a comment below. I haven't seen it before properly, but I saw it on the news recently, so I haven't seen it before. This may be a new development because on the news the issue of child poverty was being discussed. There was something called child bank, and you comment below if you know anything about that, if you know anything about child poverty. So this document is about the treatment of final payments on leaving work. Like I said before, it does not explain how to calculate a claimant's other income or for income support or income based job seekers allowance JSA, or how to calculate their other earnings for contribution based JSA. We discussed the calculation facilitation online. There are websites, and if you watch this video, watch the rest of the video. If you want information relating to something like that, leave a comment below. I may be able to do a bit of research if you are in need. Know that it contains information about the conditions a claimant must meet in order to get this benefit. It's called eligibility criteria. We have discussed eligibility criteria. More about income support, more about income-based job seekers allowance and contribution-based job seekers allowance. These are means-tested benefits in the United Kingdom, which means if you have savings of £6,000 and you're not working, generally you'll be able to get it, but you cannot normally make new claims because they are legacy. But in some exceptional cases, you may make a new claim of certain type of this benefit. They are literally substantively they're different, but this is income based. The other one, job seeker allowance. The other one is contribution based. Contribution based is called new style, but it is semantic, and also is slightly different. Perhaps it helps in one way or the other, but these are complex processes. and it pays to get help whenever you need it. Stay tuned and continue watching. Thank you so much.
Some see the original, mighty the god, the magical radical. Hey, representing my magical. Young Jose come million. Lamego wacha, that lifta. Kina teach me can you lamego kopa. That wacha, kina damage me can you lamego wacha. That lifta, kina teach me can you lamego kopa. That lifta, kina damage me can you.
Come to the camera, come on, there we are there for the bed. We have a day, you're my baby. Every day I call you, my door, you're my treasure. Baby, got your machina, yo. If I be quacking you, but it's over to Koda. Baby, got the machina. Baby, got your quara. You must say bandana. You must say bandana. You must say bandana. Baby, got your tema, come and quack.
So we are talking about payment on when you are leaving work in the United Kingdom, when you work in the UK, and also when you are leaving work in the United Kingdom, and how these payments may or may not affect other forms of income, which may come in other ways. Like I've been saying, if you have been watching this video, if you have watched this far, I'm so happy that you have been watching this far. Subscribe to this YouTube channel and support it in whatever way you can. So we are looking at important factors which affect the payments on leaving work, the way they are treated for income support, and also job seekers allowance purposes. Stay tuned, continue watching, and I'm so glad you came to participate in this program, which is really important. It affects people across the globe. Every little help. So many types of payment on leaving work are disregarded as earnings and do not therefore affect the calculation of a claimant's income for income support or income-based job seekers allowance, or the calculation of their earnings for contribution-based job seekers allowance. However, the exact way in which a final payment is treated depends on the following factors. Stay tuned, continue watching whether the claimant was in full-time work or part-time work when the claimant's work ended, and therefore whether also the final payment is treated as earnings or income other than earnings, whether the final payment is treated as compensation, whether the claimant has been suspended from their job, as retired, or is on maternity, paternity, adoption, share, parental, or sick leave. We talked about these types of leaves, which when you leave work temporarily, often not permanently, and you're paid for those, including holiday. Normally we know holiday leave. So let's also look at payments on leaving full-time or part-time work that are usually disregarded for income support and job seekers allowances. When we talk about employment statuses affecting differently payments you receive from your employer when you're leaving work for purposes of means tested benefit in the United Kingdom. This section, therefore, in this document about particular types of final payment or leaving work explain how they are treated in more detail. The following types of final payment or leaving work are usually disregarded for income support, income-based job seekers allowance, and contribution-based job seekers allowance. But see the next paragraph also as seen final earnings or wages held in earn relating to the period before the client's employment ended, pay in lieu of notice pay, holiday pay that is due to be paid up for 4 weeks after the claimant's employment ended. A contractual redundancy payment also is looked at payment treated for the purposes of income support and job seekers allowance as compensation for termination of employment. There are special rules for income support about which payments are treated this way and how they are treated, and special rules for job seekers allowance about which payments are treated this way and how they are treated. Income is significant for at least one or two reasons. These benefits we're talking about are means tested. Means testing as a concept, we have discussed it before. Along this series, if you watch this video, watch the rest of the video to understand what concept relate to in means tested benefit. This is essentially what we're talking about in terms of income in the United Kingdom from work and from non-work sources. Both relate to, in my opinion, particularly employment, relate to welfare system. A lot of people may not really see employment as part of welfare or social policy objectives. It is economic, yes, but all factors are economic one way or the other. But if you talk about welfare, you also talk about employment. The level of employment in terms of the minimum wage, national minimum wage, and national living wage is critical in getting the British people out of poverty. I have interjected to mention this because the primacy of my interest in discussing this topic is about income, about poverty. But I would like to take us through the nitty-gritty, how the policies work, and also the laws, how complex or how straightforward they may be. Leave a comment below, let me know your thoughts in terms of this. Only some compensation payments awarded for the termination of employment are categorized as compensation payments for the purposes of income support and job seekers allowance. You may therefore need to check, stay tuned, continue watching. Thank you so much. You may therefore need to check the special rules in this document about compensation payment to work out whether or not a particular payment is categorized as a compensation payment. A compensation awarded by an employment tribunal for unfair dismissal in certain circumstances can be looked at. These payments are not categorized as compensation payment for income support and job seekers allowance purposes. As gotcha or golden handshakes payments can be looked at bonuses or commission payments for expenses that the claimant did not really exclusively and necessarily incur when they were doing their job. We look at these elements in turn and as often comparing one with another in relation to whether or not they apply when you are leaving work, being paid, and also this impact to your welfare benefit, which are means tested on this occasion. Look at for payments on leaving full-time or part-time work that are usually taken into account for income support or job seekers allowance. These are specifics. You cannot do one or another. So let's look at some retainers. A payment by way of a retainer is taken into account as earnings for income support, income-based job seekers allowance, and contribution-based job seekers allowance, whether the claimant's work was full-time or part-time. These are some of the information. Stay tuned, continue watching. Leave a comment below, let me know what you think about this material, and also you can access this on gov.uk, ACAS, and there are very good resources, public website of citizen advice, and many others in the UK. Whether you live in the UK, whether you live abroad, it is so essential to pay attention to life, to what is happening, because work is so important. And we live now in an age where you are needed. You need to be an expert on almost everything, to the extent that you can afford to be an expert, because the cost of these services are exorbitant. They are so high, they are affordable, because the public sector is closing down, government is changing the system, the economy is shutting down. Ultimately, technology is taking over to run the world. wealth will be operating if technology matures, and it is maturing very quickly. Artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, robotics, 3D printer. I mentioned this by way of sanctions because they are so critical in the way we understand progress right now in terms of development. So pay close attention to this. Don't be left behind. I have really said this over and over and over because a lot of people now get into trouble. They are looking for lawyers. They cannot afford it because they don't have access to justice because legal aid has been cut. The cost of lawyering is extremely expensive in the United Kingdom. Leave it down below if accessing lawyers and legal service in your country is cheap, and therefore if it is not cheap, the government should finance it. The government has cut legal aid, almost all of it, only a few, and the few left, accessing it is so complicated that it amounts to inaccessibility in terms of everything now public being in. I have said this again and again. I said I'll be repeating them. I'll be stopping to really mention these things because they are the basis of my discussing all these materials. They point to one thing: because welfare, because of well-being, because of enlightenment, empowerment. People need to know. People have to have information. They are online, and sometimes if we are still lucky, we can still access services through advisory services, consultancy services, legal services. If that can happen, if you can access one way or the other solicitor, make the best use of it. Don't be negligent. The government has given your country back, but your country has been given back empty. The money is gone missing. The multimillionaires and the billionaires have all the money. The Labour Party came into power just a few weeks ago, and it's struggling now. If you watch the news, you see the ministers, Secretary of State, senior ministers, Prime Minister, they don't have anything to say because the country has shut down for public sector. The only thing left now is the private sector, which are big organizations, well, multi-million and multi-billion corporations. Small and medium businesses are shutting down. Most of them are shut down. They are just there temporarily. We, as the people of Britain, will sooner or later wake up to an empty country, bereft of any wealth, bereft of any livelihood. And this is something we need to understand because we are turning into a jungle. You know, God for us all, and every man for himself, God for us all, which is extremely important. People need to be aware. So let us carry on with this information. Let us look at part-time work, income support, and job seekers allowance. How they relate, the way we have been discussing. If a claimant's part-time work ended on or after the first day of their entitlement to income support, income-based job seekers allowance, or contribution-based job seekers allowance, final payments on leaving work are often taken into account for these benefits. This section, the section in this document about particular type of final payment. Stay tuned, continue watching. Thank you so much. Is so explained this information, this material in more detail. So stay tuned, and you are free to access the internet, to access any other form of information. You are good to be a self-learner, independent learner, and this is the time. Information age, knowledge is strength, and it's about empowerment. If you are an individual, and it's also a strategy to survive. If you don't know some of these information, they are critical in the way you handle your welfare in this country. Thank you so much for everyone, to everyone who have been helping in one way or the other, subscribing, also leaving a comment, clicking like, clicking notification bell, leave a comment, watching the video, sharing with family and friends. Payments awarded by an employment tribunal or made in settlement to complaint to a complaint to a tribunal or a court. We looked briefly at employment tribunal or for purposes of settlement or other, and also a complaint is made to a tribunal or to a court, and if a claimant was in full-time work, if their part-time work ended on or after the first day of their entitlement to income support, the following payments on leaving work are not disregarded for income support, which means they are regarded, they are taken into account, nor are they disregarded for income-based job seekers allowance or contribution-based job seekers allowance if a claimant was in part-time or full-time work. Instead, they are taken into account as earnings for a period that begins on a certain date and ends on a certain date. The payments are, in some cases, compensation awarded by an employment tribunal for unfair dismissal, for example, an amount payable in accordance with a protective award. This is a compensation payment for breach of an employer's duty to consult about redundancy. More about this information about a protective awards. Stay tuned, continue watching, thank you so much. Arrears of payment also is looked at as a payment payable following an order by an employment tribunal for reinstatement of an order for re-engagement. An amount payable also in accordance with an order by an employment tribunal for the contribution of the contract of employment. These are different elements of payment. They are important because they relate to benefits in the United Kingdom. These benefits are means tested. A guarantee payment for days on which the claimant was without work because for a reduction in the employer's business. These include a guarantee payment on an employment tribunal has ordered the claimant's employer to make. Stay tuned, continue watching, leave a comment below, let me know what you think. So also including compensation for an employer's failure to offer suitable alternative work before suspending a client on maternity grounds. Leave a comment below on these matters. Or also a payment the claimant was entitled to because they were suspended from work on medical or maternity grounds. Stay tuned, continue watching. These include a payment an employment tribunal has ordered the claimant's employer to make. Thank you so much for watching. So any payment also made following the settlement of a claimant to an employment tribunal or the settlement of court proceedings. If a claimant's part-time work ends before the first day of their entitlement to income support, the types of employment listed in the previous paragraph are disregarded as earnings for income support, but see also the next paragraph as you might or might not see visiting one our website or another. I've already referred to gov.uk, public website, citizen advice, ACAS, and also the rest of the information. We live in the age of information. Information is everywhere, so if you are diligent, if you are hardworking, you will be informed. You have the right information, so you can also help yourself. You can advise yourself when you make decisions to consider your options. Stay tuned, therefore. Continue watching if a claimant's part-time work ends before the first day of their entitlement to income support. The types of payment listed in the previous paragraph are disregarded as earnings for income support, but see also the next payment. They do not, therefore, affect the calculation of the claimant's income. Don't include them when you are calculating income, which means they do not necessarily affect at law or policy what claimants get in terms of benefit. However, if a guarantee payment that unemployment tribunal has ordered a claimant's employer to make to the claimant for days on which they were without work because of a reduction in the employer's business is payable by way of a retainer, it is taken into account as earnings. That means it applies to affect what you may or may not get in benefits. And the earnings disregarded, the earnings disregard in the previous paragraph does not apply to a claimant who has been suspended from their work. Final payments that count as capital for income support and income job seekers allowance. We're talking about capital as a factor determining whether or not you may incur or obtain eligibility criteria for welfare benefit in the United Kingdom in terms of means tested benefit. Certain payments on leaving work are treated as capital as explained in the sections in this document about specific payments. Payments treated as earnings or as income other than earnings may subsequently become capital and affect claimants' income support or income-based job seekers allowance JSA. For example, if they remain in their work bank account, that is considered as savings. A payment treated as capital or also will affect a claimant's income support or income-based job seekers allowance if it takes their total capital over the capital limit, which limit is normally £16,000 or more than £6,000. A final payment that counts as earnings rather than income other than earnings becomes capital after the end of the period for which it is payable and after liabilities such as income tax and +1 national insurance contribution are being deducted. More or less, we're looking at net income or savings or capital. If a client's capital, a final payment from work is a type of income other than earnings, it will be become capital after the end of the period for which it is payable. Income and capital are relevant in terms of means tested benefit because these are factors affecting whether or not eligibility criteria may or may not may be met, and we have discussed this previously in relation to benefit in the United Kingdom. If you want to know more, leave a comment below so that I may or may not, depending on my situation, I may be able to do a research and provide information one way or the other. But the better view would be for individuals interested in understanding what is happening in the United Kingdom in terms of income, whether from work or other source of income such as benefit, is to go online on gov.uk and do a search there accordingly. Nevertheless, you can still come if you are actually a committed fund and you are in need. Let me know and we will see what can be done. Information is strength, like I said before. So the sections in this document about particular types of final payment on leaving work explain whether or not these payments count as earnings. These may help you work out whether or not a particular type of final payment is earnings and when it will become capital. We are looking at information online when you want to know, if you want to learn more about the treatment of capital for income support and income-based job seekers allowance, you can always go online. You're looking at welfare benefit and tax credits and book. These are materials you may or may not be able to access depending on your circumstance, but online is always the place to be. And thank you so much, everybody who have been watching this material. Stay tuned, continue watching. Thank you so much.
MVC record.
Batidas on the beat.
So we are looking at payment in the United Kingdom. We are looking at pay when you are working. We are looking at pay when you are leaving work. Final pay when you are leaving work. We are looking at how it affects your benefit. There is something called benefit. It's a type of money, maybe cash, maybe some other form of money, maybe also payment in kind, depending on eligibility and whether you qualify for them, how they are impacted. So we look at a claimant's partners' final payments, while they are treated, when they are treated the same way as a claimant's final payment for income support and income-based job seekers allowance. This means they are taken into account in the same circumstances as the claimant's final payments, and disregarded in the same circumstances as the claimant's final payments. So we look at their partners. If you living in a home or wherever you live, you have a partner, their income is also treated. The idea here is they are looking at what money you have for purpose of benefit, because these benefits are means tested. I have said it before for you to consider what means testing means in terms of the income type of money given in the United Kingdom, or the support known as income support or job seekers allowance or other elements of benefit in the United Kingdom, as you may or may not be able to get. So therefore, these means they are taken into account in the same circumstance as the claimant's final payment. Claimant final payment is the subject and also their partners, if any. And these are disregarded in the same circumstances as the claimant's final payment. The section also dealing in this example, in this document. Stay tuned, continue watching. Thank you so much for your support. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't subscribed, and click notification bell and click like, leave a comment and share when you watch with family and friends. So this section in this document about different types of final payments explain why they are taken into account and when they are disregarded. Some are taken into account, others are disregarded. Disregard means they are not taken into account. However, there are different rules for people who are retired. These are people of pensionable age. Stay tuned, continue watching, leave a comment below if you are a pensioner, if you know somebody who is of a pensionable age. For contribution based job seekers allowance, a claimant's partners, a final payment is ignored. We talk about contribution based job seekers allowance as compared with income based job seekers allowance. This is because only the claimant's earnings and not their partners are taken into account for contribution based job seekers allowance. These are subtle differences where only the claimant's earnings are are taken into account. Their partners are not. When they are dealing with contribution-based or new style benefit, like I have said before. So you can look also at people whose work has been interrupted one way or the other. So if a claimant is in full-time employment and it has not ended, but they are not working full-time because their work has been interrupted, for example, by a period of maternity, paternity, adoption, shared, parental or sick leave, there are special rules about how any sick pay, maternity pay, paternity pay, or adoption pay is treated for income support or income-based job seekers allowance. See also elsewhere to see more, to find out more. There are also special rules about how final payments are treated. And these are all because the benefit in the United Kingdom are mean stated. Leave a comment below, let me know your thoughts. So you look at effect of sick pay, maternity pay, paternity pay, adoption pay, and a shared parental leave on income, and also income-based job seekers allowance. Stay tuned, continue watching. Thank you so much for watching, for your support. As always, so we are looking at sick pay, maternity pay, paternity pay, adoption pay, and shared parental pay, which are not treated as earnings but count as income for income support or income-based job seekers allowance. JSA will talk about income, whether it is pay or not, for purposes of means tested benefit. We look at these things and we'll look at it again. Stay tuned, continue watching. Leave a comment below, let me know your thoughts on these matters. Any such pay is taken into account as income from the date it was paid minus any amount deducted for class 1 national insurance contribution and minus half of any sum the claimant is paying toward an occupational or personal pension. Stay tuned, continue watching. Such a scheme can be looked at. This means that if a claimant leaves work with a payment of, for example, 4 weeks sick pay, they will be treated as having income for 4 weeks from the date they left work. These are the duration, these are what is counted as income for purposes of benefit. Final payments on leaving work and people whose work has been interrupted. We are continuing with this topic. In the final payment, a claimant is paid or due to be paid from their work when these work are disregarded. Any final pay under these circumstances are disregarded as earnings. They are disregarded as earnings for income support, income-based job seekers allowance, contribution-based job seekers allowance. If their work is full-time work and their work has not ended, but they have stopped working full-time, for example, their work may have been interrupted because they are on maternity, paternity, adoption, shared parental or sick leave, and the final payment is a type of payment that counts as earnings rather than income, other than earnings, rather than income, other than earnings, and the final payment is not a retainer or guarantee payment for days on which the claimant was without work because of a reduction in the employer's business or payment the claimant was entitled to because they were suspended from work on medical or maternity grounds. These are some of the information. To stay tuned, continue watching. Leave a comment below. These payments are not disregarded and the claimant has not been suspended from work. And also let us look if a claimant's earnings are disregarded as described in the previous paragraph. This means they will not be treated as if they are in full-time work because of their earnings, and they will not affect the calculation of their income for income support, income-based job seekers allowance, contribution-based job seekers allowance. What we are talking about are income. there are different details which may or may not be necessary, but it's pays the more you know, the merrier. Or I've been repeating the same point that the level of income will affect your benefit in one way or the other, within rules or also within exceptions to these rules. This is the case even if they are paid in arrears as part of their final payment. They are in detail, so very important. The section in this document also about particular types of final payment on living work, explaining different things, whether or not these payments count as earnings, and this may help you work out whether or not a particular type of final payment is earnings, and is therefore disregarded according to rules described above. This talk about rules of law and policy. The final payment becomes capital. It may affect a claimant's income-based job seeker allowance or income support, like I have said previously already on this video and elsewhere. People who have retired also can be considered for this line of information. Any final payment that counts as earnings and is paid or due to be paid to an income support claimant partner is disregarded if the partner was in full-time work and the partner reached the qualifying age for pension credit when they retired. More about the qualifying age for pension credit and the earnings were paid or due to be paid because of retirement. Stay tuned, continue watching, thank you so much. Any final payment that counts as earnings and is paid for or due to be paid to the partner of a pension claiming income-based job seekers allowance (JSA) is disregarded if the partner was in full-time work and the earnings were paid or due to be paid because of their retirement, and the partner is entitled to state retirement pension when they retire, or if they are not entitled to state retirement pension, it is only because they do not meet the relevant contribution requirement for getting one. More about the relevant contribution requirement for getting state pension, retirement pension. So these are some of the information. They are interconnected, but we are concentrating narrowly on one thing or another. Any earnings paid or due to be paid to the partner of a person claiming contribution-based allowance is disregarded. So the section in this document about particular types of final payment or living work explain whether or not these payments could count as earnings. This may help you when you work out whether or not a particular type of final payment is earnings and is therefore disregarded according to the rules described in the previous paragraph. Leave comment below, let me know what you think. So if a client has reached or is over the state pension age for a woman of the client's age, they will need to claim pension credit rather than income support or income-based job seekers allowance. This is because these other benefits are for people before pension age. Pension credit is an equivalent for people who do not get state pension because they haven't contributed enough national insurance to qualify on retirement to qualify for state pension. So if they get some pension which is not complete, which is not full, they can top it up by pension credit, which is an equivalent to other benefits such as income support or job seekers allowance or the rest of it. These are for working age individuals for income support, couples where there are one partner is age under the state pension age for a woman of that partner's age, and the other partner has reached or is over the state pension age for a woman of the other partner's age, can choose between the younger partner claiming income support and the older partner claiming pension credit. A man who has reached who is over the state pension age For a woman of this age but is under 65 can choose to claim pension credit instead of income-based job seekers allowance. However, the client may be better off claiming pension credit. There are different rules about how final payments on leaving work are treated for pension credit. More about the state pension age, more about a pension credit, more about how a final payment on leaving work are treated for pension credit, which is to be found in welfare benefit and tax credit handbook. More also about income support and more about income-based job seekers allowance. Thank you so much. Stay tuned. Continue watching. If a final payment becomes capital, it may affect a claimant's income-based job seekers allowance or income support. Thank you so much. So let us look at last wages, salary, money in earned. So we're looking at last effect of last wages, salary, money in earned on income support and job seekers allowance. So if a claimant was in full-time or part-time work that ended before the first day of their entitlement to income support, income-based job seekers allowance, JSA, or contribution-based JSA, last wages or salary or money in earned that they are paid or is due to be paid from this work, these are treated as earning, but it is regarded and not taken into account at all for this benefit. This means a claimant who was in full-time work will not be treated as if they are in full-time work because of last wages or salary or money in earned. These earnings will not affect the calculation of their income for income support or income-based job seekers allowance, or the calculation of their earnings for contribution-based job seekers allowance. This is the case even if these earnings are paid in arrears as part of their final payment. If a claimant is still in full-time work, they cannot normally get income support or job seekers allowance. Last wages or salary or money in earned are not disregarded if the claimant has been suspended from work. If the claimant's part-time work ended or after the first day of their entitlement to income support, income-based job seekers allowance, or the contribution-based job seekers allowance, last wages or salary or money in earned are not disregarded but are taken into account as earnings from a certain date and over a certain period of time. And if a claimant gets last wages or salary or money in earned and other types of earning for overlapping periods from their employer, there are special rules about how to calculate the total period over which their earnings are taken into account. Stay tuned, continue watching. If their last wages or salary or money in earned become capital, they may affect the claimant's income-based job seekers allowance or income support. And we are looking at effect of last wages, salary, money in earned on tax. Stay tuned, continue watching. Thank you so much. So last earning will be taxed under the employee's normal tax code, even if they are paid in arrears. Pay in lieu of notice. Also, we are looking at the effect of pay in lieu of notice on income, support and job seekers allowance if a claimant was in full-time work or part-time work that ended before the first pay of their entitlement to income support, income-based job seekers allowance, JSA, or contribution-based JSA. Pay in lieu of notice that they are paid or is due to be paid from this work is treated as earnings but is disregarded and not taken into account at all for this benefit. This means a claimant who was in full-time work will not be treated as if they are in full-time work because of pay in lieu of notice, and which will not affect the calculation of their income for this benefit. This is the case even if it is paid in arrears as part of their final payment. If a claimant is still in full-time education, they cannot normally get income support or job seekers allowance. Thank you so much. Stay tuned. continue watching if a claimant's part-time work ended on or after the first day of their entitlement to income support. Then for income support, pay in lieu of notice is not disregarded. Instead, it is taken into account as earnings for a period that begins on a certain date and ends on a certain date if a claimant's part-time work ended on or after the first day of their entitlement to income support, job seekers allowance, or contribution-based job seekers allowance. Then for these benefits, the pay in lieu of notice is not disregarded. Instead, it is taken into account as a compensation payment. We talk about benefit, we talk about final payment. It's a fact means tested benefit in the United Kingdom. Thank you so much. Stay tuned, continue watching. If a claimant gets paid in lieu of notice and other types of earnings for overlapping payments, period of payment from their employer, there are special rules about how to calculate the total period over which their earnings are taken into account. If pay in lieu of notice becomes capital, it may affect a claimant's income-based job seekers allowance or income support as such. So our effect of pay in lieu of notice on tax. If we are going to look at this on taxation, pay in lieu of notice on taxation the next time we meet. And thank you so much for coming today and being with us. And subscribe if you haven't subscribed to this channel, and click like, click notification bell, leave a comment below. If you're watching the video, share with family and friends. Thank you so much. See you in the next video. Bye bye.